with another one. We back with let's get into the Housewives of Salt Lake City, episode 2, season 6. Now, we still on a camper trip, but we get to a party later on. So let's get into it. First up, like, share, subscribe, and join the channel. But let's get into the mess, baby. And we got a lot to do. We got a lot to do. But first, okay, so it's the next morning of the camping trip. And so, they get up, they all done slept in the RV and everything. So I said, oh, that's good. Everybody had a nice place to sleep. So they all get up to make breakfast for the ladies, for other ladies. And Mary is a little questionable about Broadway cooking steak. She's a little question about her cooking the steak. And Broadway said, girl, you should be questionable about me cooking steak because I don't cook. So that's what's going on there. So they ended up eating breakfast and everything. And we ended up getting up as they was eating breakfast and stuff. They ended up having a little chit chat, the ladies. We ended up finding out that Heather can't wait till her last child is out of her last child is off school and out of her house. Because she ready to have a life of her own. She ready to be out there and getting it. she ready. She's tired of being a mattress and a mule. That's what I got. She ready for her to go. Yes, she ready for her to go. This is the last child in the house. There's 3 girls, and the other 2 girls are off in college. And the last one is getting ready to sprout her wings. And she ready for her to go. She ready for her to get up out of her house. She ready for that chapter of her life to be over and her to be free. So as she expressing that how she feel, Broadway ended up telling her, Brahma said, trying to relate with her. Brahma said, I am her daughter's getting ready to go off to college. And she don't want her daughter to leave yet. She want more time with her daughter. Because if her daughter leave, it's gonna be her at the house, And so to the point where she then moved her daughter boyfriend in. I said, oh, girl, we don't do that one. We don't move, you don't move no. I said, girl, you don't move nobody's child up in your house. Because Brahma want to still be a mother. She said she ain't ready for her daughter to leave the nest. She want more time. So she didn't move the boyfriend in just to get more time with her daughter. Because she ain't ready to be alone. I said, what do Broadwin do? Like, she never said if she did anything other than be a housewife. If she was still working in the corporate world, because that's how she met her. That's how she met Todd. Oh, wait, what? Yeah, Todd. Todd, that's how she met Todd, her husband. So I'm like, what does she do outside of that? Or is she just a housewife? Is the question. Who knows? But she was trying to relate with Heather, and Heather went, oh. Heather said, it just seemed like you just trying to say I'm a bad parent. I said, girl, how you get bad parent from all that? She was trying to train. No, I wasn't. I was trying to relate to you. And it's like, Heather, you just want an issue with this woman for nothing. But that went on. We move on past that. We move on to what did we move on to? Talked about. Okay. Hold up. Okay. Oh, I got lost 1 minute. Wait a minute. Okay, Heather Meredith. Heather Broadway. Blase. Okay. So after them 2 was going back and forth, then we got Whitney. Whitney still wished that she can be a stay-at-home. Whitney wished that she can be a stay-at-home mom, but she can't. She got to be out here working hard for the money because they business then failed. So she got to do what she got to do. So Whitney asked about how Robert Jr. is doing, and Mary said, he has his ups and downs, and stuff, but he's doing okay. Um, she ended up telling us in a confession that her and Robert Sr., when he got back from the 30-day um treatment, that told him he has to figure it out for himself. To me, when you tell, I said, I don't think that's right. I said, that 30 days wasn't enough for him to get completely clean and stable. I think that he should have went to a program. If you watched TLC, they have a program that they show where people who family had do these interventions, and they try to get their family to get clean, where these programs actually take you out of where you're from and ship you. Most of them was going to California, and you'll be in this program where you actually end up living there and getting back on your feet and stuff like that. He need to be in a long, stable program so that he can get really get into a mission. I hope I'm saying the right word, and get clean. Because as I said, this is gonna get very bad before it get better for him. Because if he's trying to figure it out for himself, and they're not trying to either help, because you don't have to. I know a person has to be willing to do it, but he wants to help, but he don't have the tools. That's just me. But let me know how y'all feel. So that's what she told about that. They ended up getting ready to leave the camp and stuff, and the RV gets stuck in the slippery, muddy snow. So some of the ladies had to get out and push it. Mary said, I ain't pushing nothing. So they pushed it out of the mud. So we back in Salt Lake. So we got Heather and Lisa meeting up, and Heather ended up getting down to the business of the business. We're gonna get into it. Heather ended up telling her what went on the trip, that who was talking about her, that Angie said you compared you to Jen Shaw. She was mad about that. She asked her who else defended me. She said Meredith defended you in the beginning, but then she was quiet. Uh, she said that was it. But I said, girl, you didn't defend. I said, you really didn't defend her as much. It was mostly Brittany. Brittany defended her from the time y'all got on that RV to the time y'all left. I said she was the only one defending the girl. She was a ride or die friend that you think you trying to be. So during this whole conversation, she tell that Broward talked about her lawsuits and stuff like that. She said some of that that stuff dismissed. That's dismissed. That's dismissed. Y'all don't know what type of life I live. My life is different from y'all. I said, girl, how? You live in a glass house. That is the only thing different. A glass house that's falling down. It is foggy. Can't nobody see in it. But her and Heather have a little lunch and stuff like that. And she's saying that she said, oh, now this fair games, because now I'm gonna get back with y'all. Now I'm gonna get into I'm gonna bring up they stuff. I said, you've been doing that. You've been doing that for the last 6 years. We're on the 6th season, and you've been doing that nonstop. But now that your stuff is coming to the front, your lawsuits and everything is coming out, there's a problem. You don't want nobody talking about it, Lisa. And you putting on these fake ass tears. But let's move on past them heifers. She talked about also she was mad because Angie didn't really defend her, because she said, I've been a real friend to Angie. I said, wait a minute. I said, the way you dog Angie out, I said, I said, girl, you don't even like yourself. And I know you don't like these women. But okay. We move on past her. So she got plans and operations to do to these women. So we move on to Whitney and Broward. They go skiing, and they end up having a conversation about the trip and what went down. And Broward ended up thanking her for actually, standing up for her, during the camping trip when it came to Lisa and the issue with Heather and stuff. She said she still don't understand what's going on with Heather and why Heather the way she is and stuff like that. Whitney gave her a little one too and whatever. She ended up telling Whitney about what some more detail about the lawsuit, y'all. So apparently there's one of the lawsuits. Lisa borrowed some money from whatever the man is, whoever this man is, and told the man, do not tell John. Wait a minute. Why you don't want your husband to know? Because your husband is the CEO of the company who runs the day-to-day operation, but you on the back end doing everything under the sun. And it seems like you got a sugar daddy who giving you money for your American Express card for that Range Rover you drive and anything else that you didn't put on your skinny body. So yes. So that's what's going on. So it seems Whitney found out stuff she didn't know. So we move on past deal. We get into so we get into Mary. So Mary's at home and she talks to Robert Jr. Robert Jr. And they have a conversation. This is where Robert Jr. ended up. He ended up opening up a little bit more, but I think he was holding back. He talked about, after being back from, rehab and stuff, that he had to cut off people that he used to hang out with, he used to get high with. He said he feel isolated. And moving into he's slowly bringing things back that is used to be familiar to him. They got him in a situation that he was in. They're slowly bringing things back in, and marijuana is one of them. Because he told her, I've been smoking that. On top of that, he said another bad habit is food, and you can see it in his face that he's asking for help. He is begging for help, and I don't. Mary, like, she felt like in her confession, she said, I babied him. And she trying to not to do that. But I said, it's a different thing to being a parent. You don't have to baby him in any way by helping him. You can do more by guiding him than anything. She told him, you got to help yourself. You got to be willing to do it. It's like he wants to get help, but he don't know how to do it. He don't have a clue. Like, he's 30 days clean. That's nothing. But then he's smoking marijuana, which is he didn't backtrack. So he asking for help but not getting. And I think he need to be in a real long-term program. If they want him to figure things out, y'all need to get him in a program where he's gonna be gone for a while. And on top of that, y'all need to be in a program, both parents, with him, so that y'all know what y'all need to do so that he can stay on the right track without y'all saying he has to figure it out. Because there are certain things that parents who deal with loved ones who are addicts, you have to take a program too, because it's a village. It really is a village. You have to really be hands-on till you can't be anymore. Because they'll teach you that too, that you may have to cut them off, but that doesn't come into that certain point is. That's just me. Tell me how y'all feel. So let's move on past that. Let's get into Bronwyn and Heather. So Bronwyn and Heather meet up for lunch. And they trying to make sure if they're going to be friends or not. And, they talk about the situation, what happened on the camping trip and stuff like that. We ain't getting back into that. And they have a little back. They talk about, they did talk about the parenting thing, excuse me, and back and forth. And Bronwyn said, I was just trying to relate to you. and stuff like that. Heather went back into, yeah, I just felt like you called me a bad parent. So Baldwin apologized for that, making her feel that way. And they started going back and forth and a little tit for tat because they were talking about Lisa as usual. Heather brought that into that situation. And all of a sudden, Heather wanted to squash all that and said, let's just be friends. So they're trying to be friends. I said, you can never be friends with Heather, like you can never be friends with Lisa. I said, but that's what that is. Move on from there. Let's get into this. So there's a new lady named Amy who giving a party that all the ladies are going to. So at this party, this is where all the drama go down. So we had the biggest drama of all was Lisa finally showed up. And Lisa showed her. Lisa showed her like she never showed it before. And Baldwin showed hers too. Cause when Lisa got in there, Lisa walked over to Meredith because she wanted to know what went down on the trip and stuff and who was talking about her. Meredith said, it wasn't, girl, it was some talk, but it wasn't that bad, girl. Trying to give it a little hush hush on him, but then it was Brittany. Brittany brought her, said, hey girl. Brittany came over there and Brittany went, girl, hey. And she went, girl, what happened on the trip? Girl, this what happened. She went, Baldwin was dogging you out, girl. Talking about 5 lawsuits, girl, that you went in. I said, Baldwin. I said, Brittany crazy. Brittany started telling all the business. So also, girl, Angie said it was given a Jen Shaw situation. I said, baby, I can't breathe. I said, Brittany. And so at this point, everybody went, oh, she over there talking. So you got the other ladies on the other end. They see that Brittany over there running her mouth. So Lisa goes to talk to Angie and asks Angie what happened. And Angie like, girl, I heard you. So what happened? What was going on? I heard you talking about Shrink. Yeah. Angie went, yeah, I was. And I said, Angie didn't hold back. Angie was about her business. Angie was trying to get into what she was finna say to her, what she said and what she meant. And this is when my girl Baldwin came. Baldwin said, hello. Baldwin said, yeah, girl, I know you talking. This ain't got nothing to do with Angie. It's about me, girl. It's about me. She, I ain't talking to you. I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to Angie. Me and her are friends. You dismissed. I said, wait a minute. Baldwin said, oh, I'm dismissed. You need to be telling that judge that. I said, baby. I said, they is a mess. They a mess. So as that going on, this point, Baldwin is all up in it. Baldwin in her face. They start going at it to the point where Lisa tell this woman, I'm paraphrasing because there's a whole bunch of stuff went down. They went back and forth where Lisa told this woman, you gout. You gout D sucking. I can't say it all because I'm on Twitch too, so that's what we go paraphrase. I said, wait a minute, gout? You can get gout down there? I said, wait a minute, because you had Wendy in the confession like, I thought you get gout in your feet. I said, girl, I said, this girl crazy. So they going at it back and forth where Brodwin, I said, so as they going back and forth, Meredith trying to stop Brodwin from having her beef with her. And she tried to stop her from having her beef. And all of a sudden, and then Brodwin's, what did Brodwin tell that girl? Brodwin told her something. It was funny too. Oh, where I got it wrote down. Wait a minute, let me find it. Uh, oh, Brahma said no one's borrowing money behind. She said no one's borrowing money behind their husband back. Bitch. No one's borrowing money behind their husband back, bitch. I said, ooh, girl. I said, these heifers. I said, at least Broadway stood her ground against that. They was loud. They was out. I know that lady, Amy, this her party. I know she was so embarrassed because Lisa was loud as when she said that gal. I said, girl, when you said that gal, girl, and then Edge, like Broward asked Whitney, like, girl, do you she went, yeah, I enjoy doing she went, I enjoy giving Georgia Dawn. Broward said, I enjoy giving Georgia Dawn to my man because I be trying to distract him from that Amex bill that be coming in because mine's coming in the box. And she went, do you enjoy it? Whitney said, I shall do, girl. I said, I can't with you. I can't. So at this point, uh, so at that point, that's where everything it went off after that. That's all that happened, y'all. Because I said these heifers crazy. They are crazy, and I'm loving it. But let's see what's going on in chat before I get up out of here. Uh, hey everybody, how y'all doing? Uh, it's your boy Paul. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and join the channel, and I will get back at y'all.